I've been thinking about friends and making friends as an adult way too much recently. A part of me is like, I need more friends. The other part of me is like, I don't have time for more friends. I don't want more friends. That sounds awful, having way too many friends to a point that you have no free time on the weekend because you're always doing something. And then another side of me is like, I need deeper connections. There is so much noise right now in my mind about this topic that I figured we should talk about it. And if you have any tips as an adult in terms of making friends, please comment below, okay? I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you do. So if that topic is also constantly in your mind, come grab a seat at the adults table and let's talk about it. I'm Fernanda Rodriguez, and welcome to the Adults Table. So I've never been a super extroverted person. I remember growing up, my big sister would go out and I would just stay in my computer. And my mom would be like, "Hey, I think you should, go out. I think you should have some friends." I also didn't grow up having huge groups of friends and people and doing stuff every weekend. When I got to college, that changed. But right now, I think I find myself in a situation that is kind of in the middle, in which there's a side of me that is very sure about the importance of spending time alone. Like, you don't need friends all the time to do the things that you want, right? There's a side of me that feels very strong about it. And then there's another side that craves this human connection. And I don't think by any means that these two sides are opposites. They might feel like that sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's healthy to have both, right? It's healthy to know when to stay by yourself. It's healthy to know when to be with a group. Now, between the two, I'm usually more on the first side, meaning most of the time, I either do things with my partner, by myself, or with two different friends. And consciously, I'm like, this is great. We don't need more than a couple of friends, a couple of good friends. But there's a very judgmental side of me that is like, you should have more friends. You should go out more. You should do more things. You should enjoy other people's companies more often. So I'm getting to a point that I'm starting to redefine the way that I see friendships and how I engage with these friends. I've moved countries 3 years ago. This is the second time that I moved countries. I also studied abroad, so I've lived in different countries 3 times, but really for longer than 6 months in 2 countries. And the reason that I bring this up is that once you move countries, or even states, you don't even have to go that far. But once you move from the place that you grew up, the place that you've always known, then you kind of have to start again. And something that became very clear to me is how much culture has an impact on this. In my case, that I live in a different country, speaking a different language, and it's just a completely different experience. There is even the fact that in this language, I might not be as funny as I am in my native language, or the other way around, or the way that people perceive me by the way that I communicate might be different than back home, right? So these subtle things that we often don't even notice, they also play a part when it comes to how you show up, the people that you engage with, the friendships that you build. So in the beginning, when I moved to the US, I'd be like, I don't know if I can connect with these girls. I thought that I don't know. And I came to realize, and now that's very clear to me, that it was the places that I was going to, which is another thing that we have to be very mindful of. Sometimes we generalize, like, oh, the people in this city, oh, the people in this country, oh, the people in this state are this or that. And yes, stereotypes exist for a reason. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, we have to be very, very mindful about the places that we go to and the people that are in these places, right? Because if I go to a place that makes more sense to me, that I like being, that, it just matches who I am, then chances are that I'm also going to find people that have that same vibe. So we have to be very, very aware of the places that we go to, because when we're younger, when we're in college, or even before, just by being at school, you already make friends. And everyone is in a similar vibe, right? Everyone is in a similar vibe of prioritizing the group. Everyone has the time to prioritize the group. We're all there living a similar experience. So I feel like making connections and really getting to know people and spending time and sharing memories with people is very organic when you're in college or even high school, maybe. I don't know, because school, I also had some, I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, but in college, I think it's a bit different. And it's very organic. So it wasn't something, making friends and the whole process of making friends or keeping friends was never something that I thought of until really I started to move countries. Because when you're in a different place, making friends is not that organic. It can be, it can happen, that's fine. Even maybe, you work abroad, which was my case, and it was a very specific moment in the company that I was working at that made it so everyone had also a similar vibe. So it was very organic to make friends as well. So it's not that it cannot be organic, but I feel like we have to make more effort as we grow older. We have to start going to places to meet people, and we also have to start making the effort talking to people when we get to these places, right? Because that was the second thing. When I moved here, I had that goal in mind. I was consciously very sure about what I wanted, which was to know people, to make friends. But deep down, I was insecure because I felt like, again, I was very different from the girls that I was interacting with. So I was very, very insecure, which changed the way that I would show up, act, everything, right? People can feel that. So that was one of the things that happened. And then the second thing is I noticed that I would be in these places, but I wouldn't make the effort to talk to people, to introduce myself. Because I was feeling so insecure, I would be just in my shell, right? Not saying anything to anybody, just being very, very in a corner, basically. So we have to become comfortable as we grow older and as we move places or as people move away from us and we have to make new friends, whatever that might be, or even if you just want more friends. For people who are not extroverted, for people that these things are not super organic and natural, we have to make the effort to introduce yourself, to say hello. And I think it's so, I feel so embarrassed. So I started to pay attention on how people start conversations. And let me just say that I work in sales, which is so funny because I start conversations all the time with random people that I don't know. And it's just so funny that in my personal life, I struggle so much with doing the same that I do in sales. But this is a conversation about personas that we can talk about in a second. Now, I started noticing how people start conversations. Have you guys noticed? And if you're a person that is very comfortable starting conversations, please tell us in the comments your thoughts about it and how you do it. Because I started noticing that it's the most basic thing. Like people would go in the elevator and be like, busy day, huh? And I'm like, what? And then you start a conversation. You're like, yeah. Oh, so what do you do for work? And then there you go. You have a conversation. Or I don't know. People are like, oh, I love your shoes. Oh, thank you. Where'd you get them? And then you start a conversation. It's the most basic thing. But we get so self-conscious of, oh, I have to say the right thing. I have to say something interesting enough. And meanwhile, people are just saying random stuff and starting conversations. So that's one thing that I started to notice and something that I've started to implement. Okay, just not be too much in my head, or even if I am, just challenge myself to do so regardless. So I even started to go to places and be like, okay, my goal is to talk to one person. It doesn't have to be 2, 3, 4, 10. It doesn't matter, just one person. And again, if you're extroverted, this might sound so stupid to you, but for people that are more on the introverted side, this is hard. It's hard. So this is something that I started to notice. Now, I started to put in my head that I needed more. I need more friends. I need more people. I need similar connections than the ones that I had in the previous country that I lived in or in Brazil, whatever, I started to compare the types of friendships that I had in other places to the friends that I have here. And this is another very tricky thing to do. You don't have to have the best friends of your life living in the same place as you right now. You don't. We have ways of communicating with our friends. We have ways of seeing your friends, even if it's once a year, whatever. You don't have to have everything and everyone that matter to you in the same place as you all the time. This comparison to what it used to be is very tricky because not only these people are different, but your situation now in life is different. So you're doing all of these things. You work full time. You got to take care of your house, of your kids if you have kids. You have to, I don't know, I have this project, the podcast that I spend a lot of time on, and I love these things. So at a point, I was like, if I'm being 1000% honest with myself, I don't want more friends. I want to nurture my current friends. I want some good friends, and I have them here, but I don't want more. So I started to be more honest with myself and stop pressuring myself of, oh, I have to make more friends. I have to make more friends. I have to find more people. No, I don't. I don't because I don't want to. I don't have time for that. Respectfully, I prioritize my friends. I love my friends, but we all have a life. And as adults, that becomes very, very amplified. You can still see your friends, you make time for them, but everyone is busy. Which brings me to my next point, which is it's tough sometimes to make the effort to keep your friends or to make new friends when you have so many things you have to do, so many obligations, or not even obligations, but things that you want to do. I have to remind myself of that all the time because sometimes when people don't hit me up, I'm like, does this person like me? Is this person mad at me? Someone who, whenever I see in person, we hit it off, it's great, it's awesome. We try to see each other as much as possible. But whenever this person doesn't hit me up, I'm like, oh my God, did I do something? Why do we make this about ourselves? Sometimes it is, okay? Sometimes, yeah, the person doesn't like you. If the person never hits you up, they never want to see you, that's fine. Why would you insist on something like that? You wouldn't. But more times than not, people are just busy. They're just dealing with their stuff. They're just dealing with whatever it is that's going on in their lives. So we have to stop taking it so personal. It gets to a point that you become kind of scared of proposing things, suggesting things to do. I started to be like that. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I don't want to, pick some place to go because what if the person doesn't like it? I mean, what the fuck, Or be like, oh, I'm not going to suggest that we do this because this person is busy. They have kids, so they won't be available. So you already make all of these decisions for the other person. You take all of these conclusions, and the moment that you suggest, the person goes, yeah, I would love to. That would be great. So we just lose ourselves in the middle of the routine, the day-to-day, the problems, the everything. We lose ourselves. And the moment that we step outside of that and are just like, hey, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? The person is like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed. So I've started to tell myself that, like, whatever, rejection, whatever, I'm going to deal with it. It doesn't matter. It's not personal. It's fine. And again, even if it is, I'm going to survive. It's not a big deal. It's fine. My goal and what's in my control is to suggest something. Whether the person says yes or no, not in my control. They have all the right to say yes or no. And we're going to move on. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we get so much in our heads with this fear of being rejected, with this, like, oh my God, come on. So I've started to be more mindful about that as well. Now, the last thing that I want to say is I feel like the older I get, the less patience I have for the people that I don't want to hang out with. And that you have to balance that out because sometimes the person is going to be part of a group who you love. So you love everyone else in the group, but there's this one person that you're like, or two people that you're like, ugh! I have those. Oh my God. It sucks my soul. I swear to God. I look at this person and I'm like, can you please shut up? I'm begging you. Yeah. But guess what? The person is part of a group. You like the group. So what do? You have to learn how to deal with it. And for me, it's very hard because I don't know if you guys can relate to this. I used to be the person, and I can be this person still, that if I'm really mad at you or if I don't like you, I can destroy you and your past 10 generations only with words. I can make you suffer. And I say this just being completely honest. I can be such a bitch if I want to, or I don't even think it's a bitch because sometimes people deserve it, okay? I'm sorry, but sometimes people deserve it. That you're just like, hey, let me tell you something, sit down because you need to listen some things here. So I can be this person, okay? But I didn't know how to control this at some point. So I would be then a bitch, yes. So because that is not great, right? So obviously that would harm my friendships. That would be not good for anybody. I went to the other opposite, to the extreme opposite, to just be like, okay, so I have to say yes to everything, agree to everything, be very easy to deal with, very, I went to the other extreme, to the point that I would be at a table with someone that is saying only a bunch of shit and just be like, and maybe I could even agree with the person just so the person wouldn't feel ashamed or just so the situation wouldn't be awkward. The result of that is that I would go back home so drained. And this happens to this day. If I don't say anything in a polite way, I come back home drained. Like this person, oh my God, right? So now I'm learning kind of the middle ground. You don't have to listen to a bunch of BS and just agree with everything. There's a way of doing this without being rude. So I'm learning that. I'm learning that middle ground. Honestly, when the person is too much of a dick, I don't care. Like, we have to be the same thing back. I'm sorry, we have to. But there's a classy way of doing it. That's what I mean. Jokes aside, but not really joking, but I don't know. It can't be one extreme or the other, right? Oh, if there's a person that I don't like very much in the group, then I don't see the group at all, or I leave early, or I don't spend time with them. But also, it's like I have to have certain boundaries, right? I have to have certain boundaries. If I don't want to go, then I don't go, so on and so forth. So I feel like as we become adults, we start having more boundaries and people start having more boundaries and we have to start prioritizing more and we have other responsibilities and we have other obligations and there's so much going on all the time that making friends is not as organic anymore. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to make amazing friends. It doesn't mean that some of the most beautiful relationships that you're going to make in your life and the most important people in your life, you're not going to meet in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We need people around us. It's beautiful to just share life with other people. And I know that on a daily basis, it might get tricky. You have to make the effort. If that's not natural for you as much as it's not for me, we have to make the effort of showing up, of inviting people to do things, of checking in on our friends, on starting a conversation, introducing yourself. We need people. So let me know what you've been doing to either make friends or keep your friends as an adult. Any tips that you have, I welcome them. And I'll see you on the next episode at the Adults Table.